everyone's had kind of a miserable time for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of that they blame on tech, not incorrectly.
And for me, I use my ape because I own the IP rights to it. And I did make a hit series that was sort of a crossover with the TV show Big Mouth. But for a lot of people, there's no use for any of this shit. Right? It's just it's a fake industry for the most part. And I'm sorry, but it's crazy that this bank run had some of the least sympathetic motherfuckers probably that you could name in America as its spokespeople.
Yeah.
Right? Gary Tan is a person that I personally hate. I have hated him for a long time. I would spit in his fucking mouth non-sexual style if I saw him on the street. David Sachs, another one of these fucking guys. Jason, it's all these people are people who've swung their fucking dicks around, acted like they're these puffed up, synthol fucking chested little fucking creeps for the past years, bragging and fucking swinging their weight around, and by that weight is fucking substantial. And now there's a little bit of maybe you made a bad bet. Maybe there were some bad decisions here. Maybe you did something fucking stupid. And not only are they refusing to take any, and of course these are all the guys who are you have to take accountability for all your actions. No accountability for their actions. They're crediting themselves with the bailout.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think they should have just let these people fucking sink. But obviously 250, that's the other thing too is 250K, that limit means nothing now.
Yeah.
That's a big green pill, which is what I call money things. Just kidding. I would never call anything pilled. But that's a big money thing from this. It's apparently that just means nothing, right?
Well, I mean, look, the FDIC should I think Congress is the one who makes these laws, and so the FDIC can't do it. Congress would have to pass the law to do it. But it's maybe if the FDIC should raise the limits to $1 million, then they should raise the limits to $1 million, whatever. The problem is that now, basically all of the cost of this quote-unquote bailout is getting absorbed by the entire banking system.
Yeah.
Which is okay, fine. And then you have someone like Yellen or Biden or whoever their spokespeople are come out and they say, the taxpayer's not going to bear any of this. Taxpayer's not going to bear any of this. But that's not really true, right? Because the entire banking system is just going to pass the cost of having to basically cover cover these deposits on everyone else in the form of fees.
Like a pass-through, where you're fucking, which by the way, that shit should be illegal too.
I mean, think about how insurance does it, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so actually, no, the cost for us will go up because of these assholes. And I think I was trying to understand this fucking bank and, what this company was at, or what they were actually doing and who these people were, and I think that honestly, because of the unique nature of the deposit base, the easiest way to think of them is more like a shadow bank than a real bank, right? Because of the wheeling and dealing and they were doing, because of the way they were it's easier. You put your money here, it's safer, it's $5 million, you keep these high accounts, we're going to help you out with these mortgages, we're going to make it easier to lend, we're going to do all this quid pro quo stuff, almost mob mentality. It's way more like shadow banking than anything that you or I or grandma or even a 1920s farmer or whatever uses.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have access to any of that kind of shit. This is shadow banking stuff. And it's people forget this, but GE back in 2008, GE almost fell because it was operating as a shadow bank, and all of that shit. It was making all of its money off of its financing arm and doing all of its crazy voodoo derivatives magic until whoops, they got caught with their pants down like everyone else, and GE had to fucking call the president directly and get bailed out, right? And it's I guess the point about all of this is I got really pissed seeing these, whether it was the Silicon Valley people, these fucking assholes, or the people on TV, the government on TV or the Fed or whatever, basically lying to us saying this isn't a bailout, when the cost of all of this will get passed down to us. You know what I mean? The fees for holding our money at regular banks will go up, whether that'll be a fee on our account or lower interest rates on our savings. That's how the bank will recoup these costs that they now have to bear because of these fucking assholes running a shadow bank, basically.
Yeah.
And it's just it's fucking bullshit. And the real green pill, if you want to talk about green pills, is there's basically two roads here that we can take, which is either, it's which way post-history, man? You end the Fed, which I don't think we should do.
Well,
Or the Fed just needs to, I mean, when you take this logic to its end, the Fed just needs to extend a checking account and a line of credit to every single American in the country. And we
Yeah.
have public banking.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
it. Because what's the fucking difference? The difference is that same function is just getting fed through this private banking system,
Yeah.
which is really just, investment vultures that have been grafted on a public utility to like suck fees out of us for the same fucking privilege.